With Stage 2 kicking off in just a couple of days, I've decided to make a video discussing what I think is going to happen. Having already covered the maps and comps I'm expecting to see, I will now be looking at which teams I think will be contenders for playoffs, and which teams I believe will take a step back. Following this, I'll explain who I think will make the Stage 2 playoffs, before announcing my pick for the winner, and to end, I'll give a quick preview of the Day 1 action. Just quickly, before I continue, yesterday was a very busy day for Overwatch League news, so I will now just give a quick roundup to provide some context for my later decisions. To kick us off, it was announced that the Dallas Fuel had agreed to trade with the Boston Uprising, which saw the players Note and RCK being swapped. In my eyes, it seems that Dallas now have the better D.Va player in Note, who is also reuniting with Canada head coach Jane, whilst Boston must have wanted the more flexible option which RCK provides. In the short term, this could help their team adjust to the new meta. So it'll be interesting to see how they both pan out, although right now I'd say that Dallas won the trade on the face of it. Not long after this, the Atlanta Reign announced that they had filled their DPS vacancy left by Defran by signing Baby Bay from the San Francisco Shock. I think this is a win-win trade all round, as it sees Baby Bay more likely to find playtime on a team with a DPS need, rather than sit as the fifth option for a Shock side that didn't really need him. I wish him the best of luck. The last bit of news from yesterday was the announcement from the Paris Eternal that the head coach Bayman would be stepping down. This did come as a surprise to me, given that although last stage didn't go quite to plan, all of their losses came to playoff teams, even if there was a declining level of play in their performances. The loss of a head coach at this stage, however, only adds further doubts, and now I'm worried how far this team could fall. With the news out of the way, let's get on to talking about the top 3 teams that I see being as playoff contenders this stage, unlike in Stage 1. Looking at how they will adapt to the new meta, as well as taking into account their strength of schedule. At 3, I have the London Spitfire. Last stage saw both the ups and downs for this side, but seemed to right the ship after a shaky start, before throwing away their playoff chances with loss to the Dragons and Dynasty. That being said, it was clear that as the stage progressed, the team became increasingly more comfortable playing together, which should help them moving into this stage. More importantly though, I think that Winston becoming increasingly more dependent on this new meta will benefit Gesture a lot, who despite poor performances on Rhine, continued a high level of play on Winston. These factors combined with the fact that their strength of schedule looks to be quite kind, this team has a very good shot of making the Stage 2 playoffs. At 2, I have the Chengdu Hunters. As I've mentioned a couple of times in my previous videos, I feel that this meta perfectly suits the team's style of play, with a Meng directly getting a buff himself. This combined with the strength of schedule arguably being one of the easiest or weakest in the league, quietly has me confident that this extremely popular side could sneak into a playoff spot. Lastly, the team I have as most likely of now contending is the LA Gladiators. Their form at the end of the last stage finally showed what the team was capable of, and it was a shame that due to their miscommunication problems in the middle of the stage, that the side missed out on its opportunity to be a genuine playoff challenger. That said, I'm expecting that the level of performance to show once again in this meta that may allow the extremely talented DPS options to show off their skills. When added to their schedule, which looks very manageable in my eyes, I think that if they miss playoffs, it would not only be a huge surprise, but it would really set them back. Now looking at the 3 teams that I think will take a step back this stage. At 3, I have a Toronto Defiant. This side was arguably one of the more surprising teams of the first stage, as they powered through to the 3rd best record in the league. Their loss to the Shock in the playoffs was one-sided, but didn't surprise me at all, and isn't why I have my concerns. Their schedule, unlike in Stage 1, is a lot harder for this side. My worry is that even though their flexible nature may suit this meta, with teams now seeing how much the team depends on Ivy, Envy and Neko, they could be particularly targeted and only be able to pick up a couple of wins against weaker opponents. Moving on to number 2, have the Atlanta Reign. Like the Defiant, their Stage 1 schedule wasn't the toughest, and this stage will truly tell us if they are just one-stage wonders, or in fact, proper contenders. The biggest issue facing this side was their main weakness was exposed towards the latter part of the last stage, which resulted in a string of below par performances. Atlanta rely heavily on Pokpo and Dako to deal the majority of the team's damage, but once they were focused and prioritised by other teams, they really began to struggle, and I fear the same blueprint will be executed again this stage. Finally, at 1, I think the Paris Eternal are in dire straits heading into this stage. Not only did the last 2 weeks of the previous stage show a team in decline and freefall, but now, having lost their head coach, there is an argument to be made that the team is similar to the LA Valiant and has entered a state of chaos. Unless players like Soon, Shadowburn and Nico are able to conjure up some magic, forcing themselves onto DPS, I could see a terrible stage for this expansion side. Taking this all on board, and after playing around with the potential end of stage standings, I think the following 8 teams will make the playoffs in order of most confident to least, rather than potential record. They are the Vancouver Titans, San Francisco Shock, New York Excelsior, LA Gladiators, Dallas Fuel, London Spitfire, Philadelphia Fusion, and finally the Chengdu Hunters. I have a feeling that due to tough schedules, the Seoul Dynasty, Guangzhou Charge, Shanghai Dragons, Toronto Defiant, and Boston Uprising will just miss out. But a difference in one game here and there could see any of these teams sneak in. Of my 8 playoff predictions, I just have a feeling that like New York last year, that San Francisco will be able to avenge their Stage 1 final loss and convert it into the Stage 2 title, so they are my pick. As a dark horse, I wouldn't count out the LA Gladiators, who for a bold prediction, I think genuinely could finish this stage unbeaten. With all that being said, let's take a quick look at what Day 1 of Stage 2 has in store for us, as I'm going to take each day's review and preview individually this stage, unlike the last, so let me know if you like this change. Stage 2 is kicked off by the Philadelphia Fusion taking on the New York Excelsior. I have high expectations for both of these squads this stage, which should also benefit the teams in terms of meta, as I'm expecting quite a bit of Winston. That said, I think the Excelsior will be back to their dominant regular season form after their disappointing stage playoffs, and I see them winning here 3-1. This series is followed by the Boston Uprising taking on the Atlanta Reign, in a game where we might see the new signings for both sides. With RCK in the Boston lineup, we might see some Sombra comps for a change from them, but the key will be whether they can focus down Pokpo and Dako. I reckon they will, as I don't see Baby Bay making much of an impact early on, as I'll give Boston the edge 3-2. Game 3 sees the Shanghai Dragons taking on the LA Gladiators, in what should be an entertaining series, with both sides hitting form at the end of last season. But if they've both come at their best, I think the talent advantage is on the side of LA. And given we might see Decay flexing onto other DPS roles, I expect them to win here 3-1. Day 1 concludes with the Guangzhou Charge taking on the Paris Eternal, and in my own opinion, this could be a bloodbath that doesn't favour the European side. Guangzhou have a lot of talent that's shown us glimpses of their potential, but I could see this meta suiting their flexibility nicely. And Paris, as I've explained a couple of times now, are in crisis. So unless Cruz can use the knockback changes to get mega boops, I reckon we'll see our first 4-0 of the Stage 2 here. And with that, we finally reached the end of this video, and I hope you enjoyed. Unfortunately there won't be a video out tomorrow, but you can expect my Day 1 review and Day 2 preview out on Friday. So until then, please like and subscribe so you don't miss out.